I stepped out of the Uber onto the cracked sidewalk of Maple Street, and the December wind cut through my worn jacket like a knife. My hands were shaking, but not from the cold. In my pocket was a single piece of paper, a eviction notice from my own son. "Dad, you need to understand something." Those were the last words Marcus had said to me 3 hours ago, standing in the doorway of the house I'd bought 40 years ago. "This isn't personal. It's business. Stephanie and I need this equity to invest in her startup. You're retired now, you don't need all this space." I'd raised that boy alone after his mother passed when he was 7, worked double shifts at the automotive plant, skipped meals so he could have new sneakers, drove him to every basketball practice in a car held together by duct tape and prayers, put him through Northwestern. And now, at 63 years old, I was standing outside a motel on the south side of Detroit with $17 in my wallet. The Sunrise Motel wasn't the kind of place you'd choose, it was the kind of place you ended up. The clerk didn't look up when I paid cash for 3 nights. Room 108 smelled like cigarettes and broken promises. I sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out my phone. 42 missed calls, all from Marcus. I'd blocked Stephanie's number years ago, after she'd made it clear I was an inconvenience to their lifestyle. But my son, I couldn't bring myself to block my own child. The voicemails started desperate. "Dad, where are you? We need to talk about this." Then angry. "You're being childish. I have the deed. The house is mine now." Then threatening. "If you don't come back and sign the remaining documents, this gets complicated for both of us." I hadn't signed anything. That was the thing Marcus didn't know yet. 6 months ago, my son had asked me to sign a power of attorney. "Just in case something happens to you, Dad. You're getting older. Someone needs to be able to handle your affairs." It had seemed reasonable. I'd gone to the lawyer's office. He'd recommended a sharp-dressed young man named Bradley Chen who'd barely looked me in the eye. I'd signed the papers without reading them carefully. Why would I? This was my son. But what Marcus didn't know was that I'd felt something was off. The way Stephanie had smiled when I'd mentioned the appointment. The way Marcus had suddenly started asking about my retirement accounts, my savings, the value of the house. So I'd done something I'd never done before. I'd gone to a second lawyer, a real one this time, Diane Morrison, a 60-year-old woman who'd handled my wife's estate and who I'd trusted for decades. "Robert," she'd said, looking over the documents Marcus had given me, "this isn't just a medical power of attorney. This gives your son complete control over your assets. He can sell your house, drain your accounts, and you'd have no legal recourse." My stomach had dropped. "But I already signed." "When did you sign?" 3 days ago." She'd leaned back in her chair, studying me. "Michigan law gives you a 72-hour cooling-off period for certain power of attorney agreements, especially those involving property transfer. We can revoke this. But Robert, you need to understand what this means. Your son was trying to steal from you." I'd wanted to defend Marcus, to say there was a misunderstanding, but I couldn't, because deep down, I'd known. We'd filed the revocation that afternoon. Diane had also done something else. She'd placed a legal hold on any property transfers involving my name. Nothing could be sold, transferred, or mortgaged without my explicit, witnessed consent. Marcus had found out about the hold 2 weeks later when he'd tried to sell the house. I'd been at the grocery store when he'd called, screaming about betrayal, about how I was ruining his life, about how Stephanie's business opportunity was time-sensitive. "You have 24 hours to revoke that hold, Dad, or we're taking legal action." I'd told him no. That was yesterday. This morning, I'd woken up to find the locks changed, my clothes thrown in trash bags on the front lawn, neighbors staring. Mrs. Henderson from next door had tried to help, but I'd been too ashamed. I'd called the police, but they'd said it was a civil matter. I'd need to go through the courts. Now, sitting in this motel room, I pulled out the second phone I'd bought 3 weeks ago, the one Marcus didn't know about, the one that had been recording every conversation. Michigan is a one-party consent state. I only needed my own permission to record. I had everything. Marcus admitting he'd forged documents. Stephanie coaching him on how to handle the old man. Their lawyer, Bradley Chen, explaining how to exploit the power of attorney before I could revoke it. Conversations about selling the house for $340,000 and using my retirement savings $180,000 to fund Stephanie's boutique marketing agency. I had 47 hours of recordings, every crime spelled out in their own words. I opened my laptop, the one thing I'd managed to grab before being thrown out, and began uploading files to Diane's secure server. My hands steadied as I typed the email. "Diane, I have the evidence. All of it. I'm ready to proceed." Her response came in 3 minutes. "Come to my office tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring everything. We're going to bury them, Robert." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in that motel room and thought about the boy I'd raised. The kid who'd cried in my arms after his first breakup. The teenager who'd told me I was his hero when I'd missed my own birthday to pay for his SAT prep classes. The young man who'd hugged me at his college graduation and whispered, "I couldn't have done this without you." Where had that boy gone? At some point, Stephanie had gotten her claws into him. She'd come from money, old Detroit money, the kind that looked down on factory workers like me. When Marcus had introduced us, she'd wrinkled her nose at my house, made comments about renovating this dated space, suggested Marcus deserved better. Within a year of their marriage, Marcus had stopped coming to Sunday dinners. He'd started making excuses about why I couldn't visit their condo in Royal Oak. He'd begun sentences with "Stephanie thinks" and ended his independence. The transformation had been gradual, then sudden, like watching a river slowly erode a bank until one day the whole cliff collapses. My phone buzzed. Another voicemail from Marcus. I didn't listen to it. Instead, I called Diane. "Robert, it's almost midnight. I need to know something. If we go forward with this, with pressing charges, what happens to Marcus?" Silence. Then, "Elder abuse is a felony in Michigan, Robert. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult carries up to 15 years. Forgery, fraud, conspiracy, we're looking at serious prison time. And that's not counting the civil suits. You'd be entitled to treble damages." "How much?" "Treble means triple. They tried to steal $520,000 total house equity plus your savings. You'd be awarded $1.56 million, plus legal fees. They'd be bankrupted. And that's if they stay out of prison." I closed my eyes. "And if I don't press charges?" "Then you're still homeless, Robert. Because right now, despite the legal hold, your son is living in your house. You'll need to evict him, which takes months. He's already proven he'll commit fraud. What's to stop him from destroying the property? Stealing your possessions? He's already changed the locks. There's no middle ground?" "There's always a middle ground. But it requires him to want one. Does your son want to negotiate? Or does he want to win?" I thought about the voicemails, the threats, the trash bags on the lawn. "He wants to win," I said quietly. "Then we go to war. 9 a.m., Robert. Don't be late." I hung up and finally listened to the latest voicemail. "Dad, I don't know what game you think you're playing, but it's over. Stephanie's uncle is a judge. Bradley says we can have you declared mentally incompetent. You're clearly not thinking straight, throwing away your relationship with your only son over money. That's pathetic. You have until noon tomorrow to sign the house over, or we're filing for conservatorship. You'll lose everything. Choose wisely." I saved the recording. 48 hours now. The next morning, I arrived at Diane's office at 8:30. She was waiting with 2 other people, a man in his 40s wearing an FBI jacket and a woman with a briefcase. "Robert, this is Special Agent Garrett Thompson, and this is Patricia Whelan, a prosecutor with the Wayne County DA's office. I took the liberty of calling them last night." Agent Thompson shook my hand. "Mr. Hayes, we've reviewed the recordings you sent over. I need to ask you some questions, but first, I want you to know that what your son did goes beyond family matters. Wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit elder abuse. These are federal crimes. My unit specializes in this. We spent 4 hours going through everything. Every recording, every document, every text message. Patricia Whelan took notes without expression, but halfway through the 3rd hour, she stopped writing and looked at me. "Mr. Hayes, I want to be direct with you. Your son and daughter-in-law are going to prison. Not might will. The evidence is overwhelming, but I need to know if you're prepared for what comes next. This will be public. It will be in the news. Your son will hate you." "He already hates me," I said. "He just hasn't admitted it yet." "No," she said gently. "Right now, he's using you. That's different from hate. When we arrest him, When he realizes you're the reason he's losing everything, that's when the hate comes. That's when you'll get letters from prison, calls from his friends, accusations that you destroyed your own family. Are you ready for that? I thought about the motel room, the changed locks, the trash bags. I've already lost my family, I said. Now I'm just getting my house back. They moved faster than I'd expected. By 6 p.m. that evening, Marcus and Stephanie were in custody. FBI agents had raided their condo, the startup office Stephanie had rented, and Bradley Chen's law practice. The news broke on local television by 9 p.m. Local marketing executive and son arrested in elaborate elder abuse scheme, attempted theft of over $500,000. My phone exploded. Marcus's friends, people from church, former co-workers, everyone had an opinion. How could you do this to your own son? Family is supposed to forgive. You're a bitter old man who's going to die alone. But then other messages started coming. Mr. Hayes, this is Carolyn Ruiz. I'm an attorney representing 3 other seniors who used Bradley Chen's services. Would you be willing to talk? Robert, this is Pastor Mike from First Methodist. Dad, this is Marcus's college roommate, James. I always knew Stephanie was poison. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. The trial took 8 months. I'd moved back into my house after a judge granted an emergency order. Marcus and Stephanie were prohibited from coming within 500 feet. The first night back, I walked through each room. They'd sold my wife's jewelry, thrown away family photos, replaced furniture with expensive modern pieces that still had price tags. In what used to be my bedroom, I found documents, plans. Stephanie had drawn up a whole scheme: sell the house, use my retirement savings to launch her business, then stash me in a low-cost assisted living facility. There were brochures, places that cost $1,200 a month and smelled like death and gave up. Once he's placed, he'll deteriorate quickly. Stephanie had written in the margins of one brochure. Dementia patients rarely last more than 3 to 5 years. Then the life insurance. I'd been worth more dead than alive. The trial was brutal. Marcus's lawyer, a real one this time, a public defender who looked exhausted, tried to paint me as a vindictive father who'd never approved of Stephanie. He wasn't entirely wrong. I hadn't approved, but not because of her money or her background, because I'd seen what she was the first time she'd visited my home and said, Marcus deserves so much better than this. She'd meant the house, but what I'd heard was, Marcus deserves better than you. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. Marcus got 12 years, Stephanie got 15, Bradley Chen got 7 and was disbarred. The civil judgment came 2 months later. $1.56 million in treble damages, plus $340,000 in legal fees and court costs. Everything they had was seized. The condo, Stephanie's business equipment, Marcus's car, their bank accounts. They had nothing, just like they'd planned for me. I sat in the courtroom when the sentence was read. Marcus wouldn't look at me, but Stephanie did. Her eyes were full of hate so pure, it was almost impressive. You'll die alone, she'd mouthed. Maybe, but I'd die in my own house. The money from the judgment, most of it would never be collected. They didn't have $1.9 million, but the state seized what existed, and I ended up with about $190,000 after everything was settled. I didn't need it. My retirement was intact. My house was mine. I was 64 now, and I had maybe 20 good years left. So I did something Marcus would have never expected. I donated $150,000 to the Michigan Elder Justice Center, a nonprofit that helps seniors escape financial abuse. The other $40,000 I put into a scholarship fund at Northwestern for first-generation college students who'd lost a parent. Marcus's college, in his mother's name, for kids like he used to be. The day the donation was announced, I got a letter from prison. Marcus's handwriting. I hope you're proud of yourself. You destroyed your only son's life over money. Mom would be ashamed of you. I wrote back. Just one line. Your mother would be ashamed of what you became. I'm just disappointed I didn't see it sooner. I never got another letter. 2 years later, I still live in the house on Maple Street. Mrs. Henderson comes over for coffee on Tuesdays. I volunteer at the local community center, teaching auto repair to kids who can't afford mechanics. Sometimes people ask if I regret it, if I wish I'd found another way. I tell them the truth. I regret raising a son who thought so little of me that he believed I'd just roll over. I regret not seeing that Stephanie was a cancer until it was almost too late. I regret the years I wasted thinking family was unconditional. But I don't regret the recordings. I don't regret the trial. I don't regret taking back what was mine. Because here's what I learned. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you will hurt you worse than strangers ever could. And when that happens, you have two choices. You can let them destroy you, or you can fight back. I chose to fight. Last month, I got a call from Agent Thompson. Mr. Hayes, I wanted to let you know your case has been used as a training example for elder abuse investigators across 3 states. You helped change how we handle these cases. How many other families? I asked. Since your trial, we've opened 47 investigations using similar patterns. 23 convictions so far. 23 other seniors who didn't end up in trash bags on their own lawn. I hung up the phone and looked around my living room. The furniture was the same mismatched collection I'd had for years. The TV was from 2015. The carpet needed replacing, but it was mine, bought with my money, in my name, in the house I'd earned. Marcus would be 61 when he got out of prison, if he behaved, if he survived. I'd be 76, maybe still alive, maybe not. Would I go to his release? Would I give him another chance? I honestly don't know. What I do know is this. I taught him how to throw a baseball. I taught him how to change a tire. I taught him how to balance a checkbook and treat people with dignity and work hard for what you want. But I forgot to teach him the most important lesson. Some people will love you for who you are. Others will love you for what you have. And when you're dealing with the second kind, you need to protect yourself. Even if they share your blood. Even if you raised them. Even if it breaks your heart. Especially then. I'm Robert Hayes. I'm 66 years old. I worked at Ford Automotive for 42 years. I raised a son who tried to rob me blind, and I'm still standing in the house I built, with the life I earned, on my own terms. That's not a tragedy. That's survival. And sometimes, survival is the only revenge you need.